Good morning and welcome to the programme. We trust you are in good form and keeping well this morning. Stay safe, wash your hands. Joe Duffy, wash your hands, wash your hands. 083 3333 975, our text and WhatsApp number. You can call Audrey on 051 846 123. In a few seconds, I'm going to be talking to the Fianna Fáil TD in Waterford, Mary Butler. She's due to head up to Dublin today to discuss this big document and the potential cost of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael pledges. What do you think? Let us know, please. We're going to be talking to Mary for a few minutes. I want to just mention as well, we are going to have, I suppose, exclusive interviews with residents and staff and managers at Havenwood Nursling Home. Went out there yesterday afternoon to talk to them, and about fair play to them, Pádraig and the others, just able to talk to them, and spoke to the residents through the window, so we'll have that. We're going to be talking about relationships. We're going to be talking about the thorny issue of dog poo as well. There's a lot of people out walking dogs, other people walking other people's dogs, and then not picking up their poo, and other people going out with bags and just pretending to pick up the poo. So it's one of those perennial issues, but it seems to be really bad at the present. Now, Mary Butler, Fianna Fáil TD for Waterford, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
Thank you very much for joining us. How are you? How's the family?
I'm good. We're all good here. I suppose we're adhering to the guidelines that have been set down. I suppose it's hard to believe the unprecedented pandemic that we're all living through. I suppose history books will write about this for many, many years to come. But I suppose the effects that it's having on our community, on our economy, on our people, and especially from a health perspective. Because, Damien, I was only thinking to myself, we lost 38 further people yesterday, and that's 38 families absolutely devastated. You get to the stage that you're reading figures, and there's 444 dead now in Ireland because of COVID. But that's 444 families devastated, not able to, have a proper funeral, and the bereavement issues are absolutely huge. I've come across that so much, even from people that died, not COVID related. Our own family lost my oldest aunt 2 weeks ago. She was 89. She has 8 brothers and sisters. None were able to go and visit her. None got to say goodbye. And it was my generation looked after the funeral and were there for her. But that's very telling on our older generation who can't get to grieve properly at the moment.
Yes. Now, in terms of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael coming together, I was looking at the document, and I suppose to the first thing, brass tacks in terms of money. Money is what it's all about, effectively. And some of the promises in this are pie in the sky. They are really pie in the sky. We are facing the deepest and hardest hitting recession that this country has seen, maybe ever. We're looking at potentially a global depression, and you're promising all these things. It's madness, Mary.
We're actually not, and I think you have to push it into context exactly what was produced yesterday. It's a framework agreement that was entered into between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and it's designed to form the basis for negotiations for a programme for government. So there will be need for others to join into that process, but this was a loose framework document. It was aspirational in parts. It set out key principles, key missions that an incoming government will need to deal with, first and foremost, the enormous challenges of the economic fallout from COVID-19, as you've quite rightly said. But we have to see it for what it is. It's a framework agreement with a view to approval from other parties to have their input into it, and then a programme for government would be designed.
Yeah, I know the word aspirational, and that's, I suppose, a nice way of putting it, Mary Butler, but seriously, you've analysed a lot of documents from other parties in the past, and you'd be quite strong at criticising and giving credit where credit's due. But a lot of this is poppycock.
No, I don't agree with you, because at the end of the day, we have to have something to aspire for in the country. Like, we are very, very realistic, and we know, for example, that the VAT rate take was down 50% in March. We now are facing 16.5% of unemployment. 1 million people are on a state support of one form or another. But at the same time, you need a programme for government going forward. And what this is a loose framework agreement of key missions that we would like to see going forward, and we would hope that other parties, smaller parties, will now come forward and try and put their stamp on. We have to accept this for what it is. It is not a programme for government, it's a framework agreement.
OK, I'll talk about Fine Gael in a second. You just mentioned there other parties, stroke smaller parties. That obviously means not Sinn Féin. Anybody but Sinn Féin. Is that the Fianna Fáil motto?
Well, Micheál Martin has been very, very clear before, during and after the election that we would not be coalescing with Sinn Féin, and that hasn't changed. Fine Gael will have to answer that for themselves, but our position has been quite clear in that. And I don't want to rehash the general election. No,
we don't.
Now.
Yeah, you're right. Did you also not say you wouldn't, like, you kind of, as far as I know, you didn't want to go back into government with Fine Gael either. You want to get Fine Gael out.
Yes, but the difference now is the programme for government has to be drawn up with the backdrop of COVID-19.
The difference now is that you're hungry for power. You just want to get into power. And
No. You know, one thing now we have to be very, very clear of. Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael have run the country for the past 100 years. Our party has never shirked from the challenge of government in testing times, and I believe we cannot shirk that challenge on this occasion. It's very, very important that we have a strong, stable government going forward. That's what people need. There are going to be huge, difficult decisions going to have to be made, and I believe it's parties with experience are needed to make those decisions.
Again, we don't want to rehash the election, Deputy Butler. We're not going to do that, or go back over the time when I suppose the bailout happened and all those issues in the past. The idea that you're excluding Sinn Féin, can you just answer that? The idea that you wouldn't even talk to Sinn Féin in terms of any kind of negotiate. Because the COVID crisis, you just mentioned that it's changed the parameters in terms of talking to other parties. Could it not have changed the parameters also in terms of talking to Sinn Féin?
The election was on the 8th of February, and Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael won 72 seats between them. There was 88 other seats won. Sinn Féin at the time gave the impression they were going to form a left government, but for some reason it didn't happen. For 48 hours we were going to have a left-wing government, and then all of a sudden it seemed to have fallen apart. Every party has the opportunity to try and form a government. Sinn Féin have obviously failed, because I can remember sitting in the Dáil when there was a vote for a Taoiseach, and a lot of the parties, like People Before Profit and others, were only given conditional support to Sinn Féin depending on what they could agree to deliver. We're in a different space now. We need a strong government going forward, and Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have put the Civil War politics to a side, because we must remember the people voted, and what they voted for was no clear winner that could lead a government. Obviously, Sinn Féin got the most first preference votes. We won the most seats, but there was no clear winner. There was times when Fianna Fáil had 42-43% of the vote, and we still weren't able to form a government.
Yeah.
So what we have done for the past 2 months is that we have spoken to parties with a view to forming a government, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
You've spoken to some parties, obviously, yeah. Do you not think there was a vote for change? I know there was like a three-way tie, you could say, Deputy Butler, but do you not think there was a vote for change, and that it was incumbent on you, and like you had your canvassers going door to door and say, no, you won't be voting for Fine Gael going back into office. I know the parameters have changed now, and you've said that. I'm just, finally, because I don't think you answered my question, why didn't you at least consider talking to Sinn Féin?
I do know that Micheál Martin did write to Mary Lou MacDonald many, many weeks ago, and to the best of my knowledge, there wasn't an answer forthcoming. We have been very, very clear on this. Before I came on your programme and I said it, before, during and after, that Fianna Fáil would not be coalesced with Sinn Féin. Okay. That has not changed. It is not going to change. I can't make it any clearer than that. Okay,
that's fine, I understand. So you just said something specific there. So the leader of Fianna Fáil actually wrote to the Sinn Féin leader asking what?
I'm not sure. There was correspondence between them. That's what I'm aware of. There was some form of correspondence.
So did she write back or something?
I'm not aware, but I know there was some form of correspondence. But this is
well, you must be you're fairly close, Deputy Butler, to Micheál Martin. I know you get on well with him, and I know you're well in with the Fianna Fáil parliamentary party. Surely, if your leader is writing to the leader of Sinn Féin, you know what he's writing.
Look, I just
what did he ask her?
Here. I think we're nitpicking here. I do know there was some.
No, we're not nitpicking. This is really important, because you are now saying that Fianna Fáil held out the olive branch to Sinn Féin.
No, I didn't. I did not say that.
So what are you saying? What did Micheál Martin write to Mary Butler? To Mary Lou?
That I know there was some form of communication in written form. That's what I know. There was some form of communication in written form. This was in the very early days. This was probably a week or so after the general election. As to what it was, I'm not aware.
You're not aware, and are you aware that did Mary Lou MacDonald write back? I'm not
aware of that. I do know there was some form of communication in a letter form. It was reported in the media, Damien. Yeah. It wasn't any secret. It's weeks ago now, and I actually am not aware.
Okay.
But look, the situation is at the moment that we are facing huge challenges economically, from a health point of view, and from a social point of view. You only have to walk down the street in any part of Waterford or Ireland.
Yes, no,
you only have to walk down any street, and the problem is that going forward, we need a very strong government.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay, actually, I've just checked that there. Mr. Martin wrote to Ms. MacDonald 2 weeks ago offering to meet to discuss why the two parties aren't compatible in terms of forming a government. Okay. That's what it was. But I do know that there was some form of communication.
Okay, so you're saying that you did make some sort of holding out the hand.
To discuss why we weren't compatible.
And you're blaming... okay.
No, I'm not blaming... I'm not blaming anyone. We have to be so clear on this.
Okay, I understand.
We have said before, during and after we wouldn't coalesce with Sinn Féin. That has not changed, and we don't intend so. So what we're trying to do at the moment is we came together with a framework agreement. And Damien, you have said there that this is a time for change. And I agree wholeheartedly. But do you not see that there's huge change with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael coming together and hoping to encourage a third party and some independents to come on board as well? That's huge change.
It is massive change, and I'm just going to deal with that now in a second. For some people, it's not big change because Mary Lou MacDonald would have described you as Tweedledum and Tweedledee. So effectively, you've had the same style of politics and policies for decades with different nuances. Can I ask you a very specific question, please? Do you think there is a large minority of the Fianna Fáil membership led by Eamon O'Keefe who will potentially bring this deal down?
I believe there is a large, I'm not sure as to how large the majority is. I know our youth wing of the organisation, OGRA, are not supportive of this agreement. I know there are quite a few grassroots who are very, very unhappy with the proposals. And, that's something that we're going to have to try and deal with and explain as best we can. I do believe if we get a third party and independents on board, which won't be easy, I do believe that the majority of the membership will accept the deal. I believe it will be tight. And I know a lot of people are very, very concerned. A lot of people are worried. It goes against the grain for them to be coalescing with Fine Gael. I won't tell you it's not difficult. It is. But I have to say, in the main, most people... I think if this was 2 months ago, it would have been impossible to get through. But I believe with the backdrop of COVID now, it has changed. It has changed everything.
It's changed, but it's very hard to change things for decades. Like there's Fianna Fáil members that detest Fine Gael.
Yes, there are. And there's Fine Gael members that detest Fianna Fáil. But we had a parliamentary party meeting yesterday evening by teleconference, and we had a bit of a hiccup getting started, but it went on for several hours. And I have to say, the majority of members, TDs, senators and MEPs were present, and there was not one word of dissent, not one.
Because
that's got the truth.
Because they're looking for ministries.
Maybe they are, but I have to say, we've had other meetings prior to this, and there was people who expressed their opinions. We're in very, very difficult, changing times. This is not easy for any of us. This is not easy for any of us. You're quite right what you have said. We have a history of differences with Fine Gael for many, many years, going back to Civil War politics. But then I suppose I was thinking of this last week. For many, many years now, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and Labour have worked together on local authorities throughout the length and breadth of the country and have worked well together because of the numbers. And I'm hopeful that the smaller parties will look at this document, they'll see it for what it is, a framework agreement with a number of key missions, and hopefully they will come on board and put their stamp on it, and that we can form a programme for government. We're a long way from that.
What you did say, what you did say, Deputy Butler, is that once a third party comes on board, it'll get that deal over the line. So you seem to be saying that only if this third party comes on board will it kind of soften the cough, and it'll make sure that the deal gets through. We'll wait and see.
Well, we only have 72 seats between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael.
Yes, I understand that, yes.
So we do need a small party and independents to get to that magic 83-84, because you do need a working majority at this difficult time.
Deputy Butler, thank you very much for joining us. Mind yourself and your family, OK?
Thank you very much, Damien. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Mary Butler there. Fianna Fáil TD in Waterford. Let us know what you think. 083 333 975. A lot of people texting in regarding this matter already. People saying Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael will be coming together. It's the only thing that can happen. Others saying that it's sickening that the two parties are coming together. A lot of people saying Sinn Féin are being excluded. Others saying well done to Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael for stepping up to the plate. Let us know what you think, please, or call us on 051 846 123. 083 333 975. Text or WhatsApp. John has phoned in to say he's Fianna Fáil member all his life. He's never heard such rubbish as he heard this morning. He also says there should be some incentive for the people going to work and risking their health throughout this crisis. A caller also said first it was Brexit, now it's COVID. There's always an excuse. Another texter saying, why did you say categorically on doorsteps that Fianna Fáil would not go into government with Fine Gael? Other people saying that, again, this is the exclusion of Sinn Féin. The policy exclusion will not work, says Sinn Féin councillor Pat Fitzgerald. Damien, I voted for Fine Gael all my life. This time I voted for Sinn Féin. I voted for change. The same old stuff sickens me. Keep your texts and comments coming in. I want to say a special hello from Izzy. A bit special thank you to Pádraig and the wonderful staff giving her mother Rita Foley and all the residents the great treatment and the great care at Havenwood Nursling Home, and also to Margaret O'Byrne, who's 91, a resident of Havenwood, from her daughter Colette. I went out there yesterday afternoon. I spoke with a number of people. You're going to hear first from Karen Walsh, staff trainer and quality control, and activities coordinator Chris Conroy, and Pádraig Dolan was there as well. And these interviews were done at a socially safe distance on a 2-metre extended interview stick outside of the nursing home. We didn't go inside the nursing home at all. Here's the interview with Karen and Chris. Who are we talking to?
Karen Walsh.
And?
Chris Conroy.
Tell us what you do here, Karen.
I look after the training of the staff, the staffing levels, and the general quality of care delivered at Havenwood.
Yourself, Chris?
I'm the activities coordinator, so I look after the activities, trying to keep them upbeat and active and interested in all that's going on.
You're the jester. You used to tell jokes.
Yeah, exactly. I put on the wigs, which I have.
Oh, costume.
Yeah.
How many do you have here? I'll be talking to Pádraig in a second. How many staff are here? What sort of, there's obviously kitchen staff. There's, how many altogether?
70 altogether. Over 70 in
70
total.
staff?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How have you managed? Again, Pádraig will tell us from a management point of view, but from your perspective, just practical things that you're doing. Using PPEs, all those things.
Well, I suppose what we're doing day to day, there's not huge differences with regards to how we're functioning at the moment. Obviously, our residents are cocooning at the minute, which means that they are in, don't like to use the word isolation, but they're in their bedrooms at the moment. Some of them are out around. The staff themselves, we do use our PPE every day, so that's our gowns and our gloves. We don't need to use our masks or anything because we're not COVID positive, so that's a huge plus. We don't need to go through that PPE yet.
Have you enough masks and gowns?
Yeah, well, we do. We've got plenty. I think we've enough to last us. Is it 2-3 weeks?
Yeah.
At the moment, or no? No, Pádraig's telling me different.
Sorry, Damien. Each nursing home has been tasked to have at least 3 days' supply of PPE in house for the nursing home, and all the nursing homes would have that, and we have that in house as well, and probably a little bit more as well.
How do you work it out, Chris, in terms of trying to keep residents entertained in this different environment? That's difficult.
Well, it's strange because I was so used to doing groups of 20, and now it's everybody's one-on-one, and we have 64 residents, and between me and the rehab team, we try to get to everybody at least once every day to do a one-on-one, and that would be doing an interest in areas like art, or even just going in doing what we're used to, like quizzes or games, and then Davin, our physiotherapist, he would look after trying to make sure they keep up their fitness and exercise. Between it's me and Davin and CB, we try to get him out for walks as much as possible. Like, I don't know if you saw us, but today in such a good weather, we tried to go walking around home a bit, and you know, on our Facebook page we have great photos of people out and enjoying the weather. So, you know, we're doing as much as we can, and the residents are really coming out of it well. And
in terms of talking to them and reassuring them, and the staff having that contact, it's like...
With the residents as well. Yeah, well, I suppose we are mindful of our contact tracing at the moment and minimising the number of staff that are going in and out of the rooms to the residents. I don't think it's taken away from the interactions that the residents have with the staff. So at the moment they're allocated... carers and nurses are allocated to specific residents at the moment, so they have the same carers all day, which is lovely, because it's continuity and it's familiarity for them for the whole day.
How have you managed to keep COVID out of Havenwood?
Team
everybody
effort,
just
that's
believing that it's not
down
coming
to the
in
staff
here
at the moment, because
how have you done it and so many other nursing homes in other parts of the country haven't?
Well, I don't know how the others haven't. I suppose every situation is individual. I do know that our staff here are isolating when they're out of work. They're using, for their groceries, they're using click and collect rather than going grocery shopping. They're just spending the time at home with their families. Some of our team members live on their own, and then any of them that felt that they were even higher risk have been helped to be accommodated by Porg and Marie into alternative accommodation. So, and them willing to take those steps is helping us to keep
Even,
COVID out every day.
Porg has provided fruit and veg and bread for us to just take here, but to pay for here instead of having to go to shops. Like,
every
so
day you're
it's just
running
been great.
stuff. Yeah, everything.
I think you're due a pay rise now after that good PR you've just done.
Well, yeah, I think so.
Tell me, on a serious note, that's so important. That's a practical way that you've been doing it, because I know the Waterford and South Kilkenny nursing homes, they got together kind of a little bit before the national trend, and I presume you had to talk to all your colleagues, you had to talk to each other and literally go through the importance of this, maybe even before it became such a big thing.
Yeah, well, I suppose the biggest thing for us to do before this became a big thing, we closed our doors before, I think it was the Friday before we had our first confirmed case. So Porg and Regina, they're our Obi-Wan Kenobis at the moment. So, like, you know, they've been guiding us through it all, along with the other director of nurses within Waterford and South Kilkenny. And I suppose their meetings every week, their constant communication every day, and knowing that, you know, we're all doing similar things to keep it out. And I think thankfully we don't have anybody in amongst that group with COVID.
And honesty, that staff are able to say, listen, I was here, I was there, that nobody is telling little fibs.
No, and I don't think they are.
No, you can't, because that's the crucial thing.
As we can see, we're all in the same boat, aren't we?
Yeah, we're all in the same boat, and the staff understanding and being educated as well in what's going on around them is huge. And I suppose that's something we're working on every single day, even today, doing more training schedules to make sure that the staff are briefed and they have an understanding of the whole situation that's going on around the country at the moment, and every little bit of education helps them to make better decisions.
But I think the staff also have such a connection with a lot of the residents, with all the residents,
want to mind them.
Basically you don't want to bring it home, and you know, as it mightn't affect us too much, we know it could really harm the residents, and that's the last thing we want. So
this is not a PR question for you, because Porrick is standing within 3 metres of us, but you must be proud.
Oh God, yeah, I know I'm proud, and I know Christopher's proud, and the rest of the team are proud every day coming to work, knowing that everybody is putting their best foot forward all the time in unprecedented times, that we don't really have, you know, anything to look back on and say, well, this is what we did during SARS, or this is what we did during swine flu. This has never happened before. So for everybody to be managing and coping so well, yeah, you have to be proud of it. Yeah. Because
you see news reports not just in Ireland, but in Northern Ireland and England, in Italy, all over the world, and what's been done here is a great example of how it should be done.
Yeah,
definitely. You know, like that, as we said, day one, you know, it's very upsetting to the families, but we closed the doors, and I think now the families can see how important that was, and they're very grateful that we did do that. And it seems, well, we all believe it's not coming in here. you know, and we're going to keep it up that way.
Yeah, I think closing the doors was the hardest move, but the most important move at the time, because it gave us the head start really on, you know, getting the grasp on what we could do to ensure that COVID doesn't come in. And, you know, closing the doors to visitors was, as I said, one of the hardest decisions that I think Pádraig and Regina and Marie ever had to do, but it's proved to be beneficial to us, and now we know that should COVID come in, it's only the staff, and the staff we can always advise, educate and make sure that they're doing all they can.
Well done. Karen and Chris there, and to all the staff at Havenwood and every nursing home in Waterford and the South East and in South Kilkenny, well done so far. Congratulations, you're doing great work, and keep up the great work. There are some nursing homes in Wexford and other parts of the South East, and also there have been some terrible tragedies in terms of people and relatives of loved ones who've died, and our hearts go out to them this morning. But in Waterford and South Kilkenny, in that group that is that makes up this I suppose cohort down here, we don't have any at the moment, and we don't want to jinx it. We're going to hear now in a minute from Kitty from Templemore, and Tom McGrath from Morrison's Avenue, and Pádraig Dolan. Stay with us. Now, there have been a considerable amount of texts on politics. Maybe people are interested in politics to get away from the COVID, and I understand that. And I may not get to all of your texts. They're 50-50, I would say, in terms of looking at the numbers here. One aspect of it is that saying Sinn Féin and the left had their big chance to go into government after the election, but they all ran and their bluff was called. That's why Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are now picking up the pieces. And the other side of it is that what's the point in voting? The people of Ireland voted for change, real change. Now we're going to have a combination of the same dog poo that we had over the last 100 years. So effectively they're the two different sides, two different angles to that story. A lot of people texting in about nursing homes as well. Now we're going to hear from Pádraig Dolan, who's the manager of the Havenwood Nursing Home, and you'll also hear interviews with Kitty from Templemore and Tom McGrath from Morrison's Avenue. And I did those interviews. They were inside the building, the two residents, and I had my extended microphone going up to the window and just in through the window. So here's the interviews with them. Pádraig, congratulations so far. Well done. Testament to your staff, to the management team, and to the residents as well.
Like everything that Karen was saying there and Chris was saying is what they're doing. You know, there's over 70 staff that I'm saying here, and we rely on every one of them to do their jobs, and they are doing their jobs, and they're working very hard. And again, I'm very proud of what we've achieved here. Like, it was only last year we actually won the Chamber Award for customer service, and I think that shows you the teamwork that we actually had last year is continuing on this year, and all the COVID and all the challenges that we actually have.
Did you close down the nursing home to visitors before other nursing homes in the country?
Yeah, we closed down on the 6th of March. I think most nursing homes then followed the week afterwards. It was actually...
So you were a week ahead?
We were a week ahead of it. And I look, Damien, I don't know if that was the reason why we've heard other nursing homes up the country that closed on the same day as us. Were wearing PPE, and I'm very unfortunate that one person came in and basically COVID came into the house then. We've been very lucky, but again, it's simple things like making sure our delivery guys are coming in, making sure that they're wearing PPE coming in the door, washing their hands, all that kind of stuff has been put in place. Again, we're checking temperatures twice daily of our staff in the morning and in the afternoons. We introduced that back on the 6th of March. Again, it was only recommended about 2 weeks ago by the HSE to do that. We're now actually checking our oxygen levels as well with our residents as well, making sure that the oxygen saturations are above a level that would need to be at. So it's all those preventative things that are being put in place that should COVID come in, we'll recognise it straight away and hopefully then take the actions that we have planned.
The HSE and Simon Harris, they could learn something from you. And Boris Johnson?
I don't know. I'm
not overstating it, but this is phenomenal that all the nursing homes in Waterford and South Kilkenny have kept it out so far.
But again, with the help of the HSE, in fairness to them now, they've stepped up in the last 2 or 3 weeks with the PPE. We've got great supply of PPE.
Only in the last 2 or 3 weeks?
Last 2 or 3 weeks now, yeah.
So were you a little bit under pressure at the start?
We're a little bit under stress, I suppose, is what it was. We were concerned that we're being left by ourselves to fend for ourselves, and we were getting PPE in as best we could, paying stupid prices for it. And thankfully, the HSE have come on board now, and that stress is gone from us.
So you had to order your own PPE at the start?
Yeah, most nursing homes will carry PPE, like gloves and aprons would be a standard kit that we always would use around the house. So we'd always have stocks and that, we'd always have regular orders of that coming through. Now, back in January, we stepped those orders up, so we were a little bit ahead of the curve again in relation to orders coming through. But once then COVID came into the country, the price of stuff went up astronomically. It was silly stuff. So we had stock in house. We had plenty of stock in house. Like we had to isolate 7 of our residents there a couple of weeks back. Test results were taking 14 days to come back. So we're using PPE all the time. We managed that from our own stocks. Now the HSE have come in the last 3 or 4 weeks and they've actually provided those stock to replace it. So it's great.
I know you can't be critical of the HSE because they're the people that are providing you with so much. Do you think in a year's time, when this has been analysed, there could well be some criticism of the HSE because of, I suppose, they were swamped with so much stuff and the hospitals they had to focus on first.
Yeah.
But the fact that the nursing homes were kind of maybe considered afterwards, or is that unfair?
I think every process can be improved. You know, it's not just us here in Havenwood or all the other nursing homes. I think every time you actually can look back at that process, you'll always try to improve it. So yes, in 12 months' time, when the HSE sits down and we all sit down to review, did we do everything right? There's going to be some learnings from it. Absolutely, some learnings from it. It's a brand new disease. It's one in 100 years. None of us were prepared for it. None of us knew exactly what was going to happen. So, in fairness to the HSE and Minister Harris. Like Mr. Harris has actually spoken to Mary Burke, our Director of Nursing over in Killore Bridge there yesterday. So, you know, we're getting that much national contact with Waterford. It's fantastic. So we're getting great support from the Ministry even.
Are you proud?
I'm delighted. As a dub down in Waterford, I'm glad that we were able to keep it out. Please God, we can still keep it out. But all it takes is just one case, and unfortunately, it can be just a simple thing. Maybe a resident out in a supermarket in contact with somebody who's out there, and then suddenly it's in house, and then we have to deal with that. But again, we've got those contingency plans put in place. We've got all the planning in place in relation to the cocooning that we're doing now. But then we then have to go to isolation, and then all the problems with isolation and all that kind of stuff. So again, there's been an awful lot of planning put in place. I hope we can leave those plans on the shelf and never have to use them. But if we have, we're ready for it.
Hello, Kitty. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Tell me about yourself. What's the surname, please?
Mullins. Kathleen Mullins.
From where?
Templemore.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
What's it like in here? You can tell the truth now if you want.
I'll tell you the truth. I was very sick when I came in here. And they looked after me. I like it in here. The only thing I resent is myself, that I can't be like I was before I came in. All I'm afraid of is falling. Otherwise, I feel I'm the very same. Okay, I have no house now. This is my home. But I'm very fortunate to be in here. And I genuinely mean that. I get no choked up now because they are simply wonderful. Now, I'm not just saying that because if they weren't, I'd say it.
You would?
Oh, I would, yeah. I have been here how long?
Nearly 2 years now.
Oh, God, I couldn't, for God's sake, leave me alone. Well, anyway. And from the day I came in, my family say I'm spoiled. And I am. Literally spoiled. I don't have to do a thing for myself. All I can do is do what I want to do. Read, watch telly.
Do you feel blessed? Do you feel lucky that the great work that's been done by everybody in keeping COVID out?
It's Trojan work. I don't know how it happened. I think Polly moved about that week in advance. That it meant an awful lot. Because I literally didn't know what was going on, like, you know, that. But this talking to you outside the window, like, I really would never think that would happen. But he did a marvellous job. And you resented a bit, but you know you have to. I mean, my son came home from England on a Wednesday to see me, my eldest son. And he's going back on Saturday. And when they brought me down, I was told nobody could come in. And I had to look at my family through glass. And I started to cry. Because that was the first time it hit me. This thing. But then they make up for it in other ways, you know. And I'm just lucky, that's all.
How are you getting through the day, as you say, reading and just keeping going and...
Well, Chris asked me to go for walks now and again, don't you, darling?
Not just now and again, yeah.
Yeah, I don't go out. I would like to, but I find the confinement. It really hurts. I suppose that you have to pay for something, don't you?
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello. My name is Tom McGrath.
Where are you from, Tom, originally?
I'm born and reared in Waterford, you know.
Whereabouts?
Up the roads, up Morrison's Avenue.
And how long are you here?
I'm getting on for 12 months. I came last June.
And how difficult, or tell me about the situation as it is now. How are you finding it?
Well, it's the same for everybody. We're all in the one boat. I mean, it's difficult not to be able to go in and go out, like, you know, because personally I was used to being out, in and out all my life, you know. But what can we do?
And are you grateful? Are you pleased? Are you so...
I'm more than pleased. I'm delighted. Delighted to be here because it's a wonderful place to be.
And the fact that COVID has been kept out?
Oh, yeah. Well, we would like everybody to be able to come in and out, but sure, we can't, you know. That's the way things are, and you have to put up with it. About 30 years.
What did you play?
I joined when I was 15 with my brother, and we were there. My brother was there 60 years.
What's your brother's name?
Billy.
Billy. And is Billy still alive, or is Billy?
He's still alive, yeah.
How is he keeping?
Sure, he's not too bad. He's keeping as best he can, keeping the best side out.
What's it like having to talk to people through panes of glass?
I never thought I'd see the day. But there you are, that's the way things are, you know. But what a pity in a way, like, you know. But it'll pass like everything else. We'll have to be patient, that's all. But the people here are wonderful, like, you know. It's a good place to be. And we're not short of anything, like, you know. We get everything that we were used to all along. And that in itself is good, like, you know.
How are you passing the day, Tom?
I like to read, and I like to walk, and I like to talk. But I can't talk to everybody I want. I can't go in and out like I used to and all this kind of thing. But like I said, it'll pass, like everything else. It'll pass just like yesterday.
And when you hear of other nursing homes in other parts of the country or the world and residents unfortunately dying, does it make you feel, what do you think?
Well, that's life. You can't stop life. But I'm just pleased to be here. And they're wonderful. They're all wonderful people here. They're all very good, you know, and they're great. Like they help each other, kind of, you know. And that's the way we want it, you know. So we're just hoping for the best, that this will pass sooner than later, you know.
Have you any favourite meal, by the way?
Oh, plenty of them. They're too good here. The food is terrific.
What's your favourite?
Oh, I like lots of stuff. I'd eat most meals, like, you know, most meals. But I do love fish. I often wondered, like, when I was growing up, we were born on an island, and yet we never eat fish. And I looked at the Orientals, like, you know, and all those people, and they never have any problems medically that we have, you know, and yet they're eating fish every day probably, and fish products, you know.
I'll let you go back and have your dinner, Tom. Thanks very much. God bless.
Thank you very much, David.
A lot of people texting in about all the different nursing homes and the care that people are giving, and to make sure the standards are kept up, to make sure everything is in place. And Helen Walker's phoned in, and Mick Walsh has phoned in, and other people also talking about politics. Special mention to Anna and Mossy Walsh. I have bought a home in Crook, says Chrissy. And due to COVID, I cannot get over to live. I'm in Scotland. I was due to come over on the 13th, but Mossy and Anna's brother are looking after the place for me. Tell them to stay safe, and they may well be listening up in Scotland. Stay with us. We're going to be talking about excrement next. Keep your texts and your comments coming in. I am going to talk to Tom and Anna in a minute about dog poo, but I want to just mention local lad Eamon Sullivan was on ITV this morning with Eamon and Ruth. He's a director of nursing at the Excel Centre in London. Well done. And lots of texts about politics. Good morning, Damien. I just listened to your interview with Mary Butler. I voted all my life, and often I was disappointed and other times pleased with the results. But what is happening now at Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael is an appalling abuse of democracy. The only fair and civilised way forward would be a second general election. Too many people, so many people texting about comments, and an awful lot of people texting about these COVID payments, saying there's some people getting the COVID payments that shouldn't be getting them. Part-time workers at weekends getting €350 a week now, saying it's not fair. Another thing that's not fair is if you go out for a walk with your dog and you don't pick up the dog poo. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Damien. How are you? I'm
good, thank you. You sent us a picture of dog bins overflowing at the Eco Park. Anna's also on the line from Kilmac Thomas. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning, Damien.
You used 7 bags cleaning up after other people's dogs on Monday and 4 bags on Tuesday. Tom, firstly, the idea of people not picking up after them, how does it make you feel?
It's disgusting, really, Damien, and totally disrespectful towards other users of the parks and walkways and council staff that actually have to clean it up.
And Anna, tell us about, you actually pick up other people's dog poo.
I did the river walk in Kilmacthomas on Easter Monday morning, and I just have to say, David, it was disgusting. I used 7 dog bags to clean up after other people's dogs, and on Tuesday morning, 4 bags. And it's just disgusting. And you're trying to maintain social distance, but then you're trying to pick your steps going along the walk. It was disgusting now.
And have you noticed an increase in it, Tom, in terms of the number of people that are out walking dogs and maybe people walking other people's dogs, and then dog bins overflowing and not being cleared and not being emptied as they should be?
Very much so, yeah, especially down in the Johns River Walkway and the Eco Park. There's lots of dogs and lots of kids running around, and it's just very hard to navigate the paths and greenways with young kids and so much dog poo there. The dogs are off the leads and they're running ahead and behind the owners, and there's no way they can be monitored if the dogs are pooing or not. Yeah,
and then the owner might try sort of pretend, I didn't see the dog do it, and try not to. Like, it's not a revolutionary thing to actually get a plastic bag and pick up the dog poo. Like, it's a simple thing to do, Anna, isn't it? And the idea that you go, Anna, and pick up other people's dog poo, that's going well beyond the call of duty.
And David, I've no problem when I'm walking. I mean, a person can forget to bring a bag, but if I'm walking and if someone wants a bag, I have no problem giving them a bag. I always have plenty of bags with me.
But to actually pick up other people's dog poo, like that really is unbelievable that you have to do that.
But David, we live in a lovely county, and we should appreciate it, and it's nice to take pride in where we live, and that's why I do it.
Tom, the idea as well that people would bring bags and kind of pretend they're going to pick up their dog poo and then they don't do it. You've seen that as well?
All the time, especially down in the walkway, down behind Aaron's Old, leading into Poleberry there. And you see poo in the bags and it gets on the fence there and thrown into the water, into the ditch. And same in the Eco Park, that little walkway you have to cross over. There's just bags full of poo thrown in onto the reeds there. Like, why would you even bother?
Yeah. It's just like, it's not right. It's so unhygienic. It's like the diseases that we can get as well. And then, as you say, Tom, the dogs running off the lead into the grass. And if the children are then trying to get out and about. Anna, do you ever confront anybody that you see them, or what do you do?
To be honest, David, I wouldn't confront anyone. I just wouldn't.
Why? You think you might?
It does annoy me, but the reaction you might get, I just don't know. I don't think I would.
Yeah. Tom in Dunmore has texted us in, Tom, about that thing you've just mentioning about people putting poo in the bags and then throwing it over the nearest hedge or bush. It's as bad. Another texter in from Dungarvan saying the dog poo around Dungarvan is totally out of control, says another person. Another person texting in about Tramore. What would you do, Tom, if you were in the government now and said, right, let's try and sort this out, because it is a hygiene matter? What do you think should be done?
Well, they've got CCTV cameras down at the walkway, say, connecting Ursuline Court to Poleberry, and there's lots of dog poo there, so they can, I'm sure, have a look at the footage. Like, people need to be prosecuted. Now, the council's going to be looking for a lot of money in the coming months after this COVID ban is lifted. If they start prosecuting litter bugs and people with dog poo bags and not picking up after themselves, I think it'd really send a clear message.
Yeah, and a few people are texting in exactly that. That's what should be done. Find the offenders and name and shame them in the local papers and on the radio. What do you think, Anna? What do you think should be done?
I think much the same, Damien. The law needs to be enforced. It's a hygiene matter and it needs to be enforced. It's not nice having dog poo going into people's homes and their shoes, on the wheels of buggies and wheelchairs. It's terrible.
It really is disgusting, isn't it? It's just awful if you do walk in it. It's just it's horrible.
I had a young child walking it the other day, David. She asked me why was there dog poo there. I'm trying to explain it to a 3-year-old that someone doesn't pick up after their dog, and she just can't understand it. So if a 3-year-old gets the message,
yeah,
how do responsible dog owners or irresponsible dog owners. Like, I don't know how they can walk around with their dogs, their heads held high in the air.
Yeah, and some people think if they've small dogs, it's only a small bit of poo, it doesn't really matter. Like, that's another thing I've seen as well. That's ridiculous, Anna, isn't it?
It really is. If you own a dog, you're responsible for the dog, responsible for cleaning up after.
Yeah, they really are. Listen, Tom, thanks for raising the matter with us, and keep in touch and keep the pictures coming in. I hate seeing those pictures, but they're important because we want to keep getting the message out there. You mind yourself, and you mind yourself as well, Anna, okay?
David, before I go, can I say good morning?
Yes, sure, Anna, yeah.
To all our residents and my work colleagues in Dungarvan Community Hospital.
Excellent. Tom, do you want to say hello to anybody?
No, that's fine.
All the dog owners out there. Tom, mind yourself. That's it. Thanks, Tom. See you later. Talk to you. Anna, thank you very much. Mind yourself. The Rockshire Road, says a person, the shrubs are littered with poo bags. Portlaw is like dog poo central, some of the roads there. Other people saying, interesting to watch dog owners, a dog on a long leash. The owner has the phone. It's done so the owner doesn't see the dog pooing. Up around the golf club, a new rat. Ferrybank, lots of dog poo left on the footpath, hanging from the trees. Another person said, I thought the eco park is full of little yellow bags. I thought they were decorations, says another person. People throwing the dog poo bags over into the bushes.